Okay, our poet has been unwell the last few weeks. I was told she was joining today, but seems like she's not yet here. So I will do that which I planned, which I wanted to do last week, but I was uh, I was unable to find it. It's called Building the Nation by Henry Barlow. Today I did my share in building the nation. I drove a permanent secretary to an important, urgent function. In fact, to a luncheon at the Vic. The menu reflected its importance. Cold bell beer with small talk, then fried chicken with niceties, wine to fill the hollowness of the laughs, ice cream to cover the stereotype jokes, coffee to keep the PS awake on the return journey. I drove the permanent secretary back. He yawned many times in the back of the car. Then, to keep awake, he suddenly asked, "Did you have any lunch, friend?" I replied, looking straight ahead and secretly smiling at his belated concern that I had not, but was slimming. Upon which he said with a seriousness that amused more than annoyed me, "Mwananchi, I too had none. I attended to matters of state, highly delicate diplomatic duties. And friend, it goes against my grain, causes me stomach ulcers and wind." Ah, he continued, yawning again, "the pains we suffer in building the nation. So the PS had ulcers too. My ulcers, I think, are equally painful, only that they are caused by hunger, not sumptuous lunches. So two nation builders arrived home this evening with terrible stomach pains, the results of building the nation in different ways. Henry Valle. I always love this poem. It shows how we can always neglect the people who make our lives comfortable, but then we try to justify our stand instead of saying sorry. And if you have people working with you, trying to help in one way or the other to make your life comfortable, it's good to think about them. Think about their welfare. You don't go take lunch, then you come back. Did you take lunch? Where were they? And on that note, just to say again, welcome for people who are joining. This is Power Monday. We are pleased to have you. We do this every week. We use the same link, same time. You can always keep it in your diary. I want to welcome. Uh, I want to welcome Mercy of Dreamcrest. I'm told you're the one introducing the guest speaker for today, and this is a lady we've known for some time. We partner with them at Falcon, and today she's going to do another wonderful topic related to what was done last year. We last year when we did that, our capacity was limited to uh, 100. Today we can go beyond that, and they are among our sponsors. Thank you very much. Welcome, Mercy.
Thank you, Pipi. I'll dive right in. Jackie is a strategy and organizational effectiveness advisor supporting institutions, SMEs, and development programs to translate strategy into execution. She specializes in organizational design, governance strengthening, HR systems, and performance management, helping leaders align people, structures, and accountability for sustainable results. As the driving force behind Falcon Insights Global Consulting, Jackie works closely with boards and senior leadership team to build fit-for-purpose systems that enhance clarity, performance, and institutional resilience. Her thought leadership focuses on closing the execution gap, ensuring that strong strategies are backed by disciplined system and measurable outcomes. She has led institutional strengthening initiatives, culture transformation programs, performance management reforms, and sector development strategies, consistently focusing on sustainable systems rather than short-term fixes. Her thought leadership centers on closing the execution gap, the spaces between strategy design and real-world results. Jackie believes that sustainable performance is built through aligned leadership, strong systems, and deliberate accountability. She is known for her structured thinking, practical approach, and ability to turn complex organizational challenges into clear, actionable solutions. So, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Jackie, who is the lead at Falcon, and Falcon is one of our sponsors in this particular forum. Karibu sana Jackie.
Thank you, Mercy. Thank you for that introduction. OPP, you're muted if you're saying something.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
But I think you've shared. I'm not sure if you've put it in slide mode. We are still seeing just the slides.
Let me just put it in slide mode now.
Good.
OPP, I was just wondering whether it's by design that Mercy is the one who is introducing me today again.
I
Mercy,
I
we need
don't
to have
even remember.
coffee.
I don't
We
even
need to
remember
have
who
coffee.
introduced you last. But this is
It was
all.
Yeah,
Mercy.
This is
it
all
was
thanks
me.
to Mael, who tells me she's having some technical challenge from wherever.
Okay, Mercy, we need to have coffee sometime.
Sure.
So thanks again. I'm glad to be able to share. You know, when I was looking through topics which I would have wanted to share, I actually settled on performance management because it's something I keep on seeing over and over again. And I am a believer in preventative maintenance. So our focus today is on performance management landmines. And later on, I'm going to explain why I used the word landmines and performance management in the same sentence. And dismissal can actually be catastrophic. So I want to start this session by asking us a question. I believe in the forum we have team leaders, we have employers, we have managers, and I wanted to ask, when performance drops, what's your first instinct? Is it to coach, clarify, or terminate? I'd like to see some responses in the chat. What's really your first instinct? When someone who's been performing and all of a sudden you realize they're not living up to their expectations. So OPP, you could read out some of those. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Clarity. I've seen 3A. Oh, clarify. Everyone is saying
Okay.
clarify, 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 clarify. Well,
Okay, so we're
somebody says listen to understand the reason, or red flag. The ambulance says red flag. Um, yeah.
okay. In as much as most of us are saying clarify, I'll tell you on the ground situation is different. The default reaction is always these people, maybe they lack discipline, so they need to go. They're not competent, they need to go. They don't fit our culture. Maybe we have the wrong people. But what if the problem is not really personal? It's not about the person, but the structures that we have in place. something for us to reflect upon. So I'll want to start by defining really what is performance management, because the definition and understanding of performance management is integral on how we are going to actually have the structures and systems in place. Many times when I've asked people, do you have a performance management system in place? The answer I will get is that we always do appraisals. Doing appraisals is not performance management. Performance management is a continuous process. It's where an organization is going to set expectations. It's going to measure results. It's going to provide feedback. It's going to develop capabilities and ensure that there's accountability and alignment with the business or organizational goals. So at times we look at performance management as an event. It is not an event. It is not something you wake up and do and stop. It is not an annual appraisal. If you're only having performance conversations during the mid-year or end-year appraisals, then please note that is not performance management. Performance management is a system that's going to connect your strategy, your goals, what you have set out to do to daily execution. So, and this cannot be achieved by just doing it, doing an appraisal and moving on to other things. Now, so in most cases, we actually have what we call as performance management systems. It's a tick the box kind of a thing. It's a feel good thing. And when you dig deep, you'll find that there are a lot of gaps there. So really, performance management will have a goal setting, will have an element of monitoring and coaching, will have an element of rewarding and recognizing achievements, will have an element of reviewing performance. Right now, with the generation that you're dealing with, the Gen Zs, they're really, their focus is what's in it for me. If you can't show me what I'm going to get at the end of this, then why should I give it my best? So as you're setting goals, you must also think about how will I reward performance? So I'd just like to go over again and say, performance issues are often system failures. And in many cases, we think the people are the problem. But in most cases, if we are to be honest and interrogate our systems, we'll actually realize that it is we have dropped the ball along the way. And when you take a case of an employee who's dismissed and you get to talk to them, you'll realize there were no clear KPIs. There were no documented feedback. There was no structured review. So you wake up one day and we say, this person needs to go because they are not delivering. Human beings, that when you look at the population, we have people who work under structure. We have people who lead. So all of us cannot be leaders. So for those who require a structure, if you're not clear on what they need to deliver, they are going to fail. If you not give them feedback, they will think that what they're doing is actually the correct thing. If you don't structure the reviews with a view to improve, not a view to punish, then you're still not going to get the best out of them. I believe we have actually seen around where someone, maybe some of these popular professionals, they leave one organization where they were a star performer, and then they go into another organization and you're like, what really happened? It's because of their orientation. So we need to really understand what it means to have a functional performance management system. I used the word landmine, and someone asked me, why landmine? A landmine is an explosive. It's planted in the ground and just waiting for contact with a person or a vehicle. And that is how performance management issues also project themselves. An unclear KPI will look harmless. A skipped check-in will seem like it's not a big deal. Undocumented feedback, we're like, this one we can manage. I just told them you're not performing and it's manageable. An emotional warning will feel justified. But when a dismissal happens, that is when you wake up to the fact that there was no documentation, there was no structured process, there's legal exposure, and you're also dealing with reputational damage. So at times I look at an employee-employer relationship like a marriage. When things are working, when the guy is behaving, it's all good. But then when it gets to a point where things are not working, that's when you start wondering, what did I see in this guy? That's when you start realizing that the nose is not placed properly on the face. So an employee-employer relationship is also like that. But over and above that, we are also working in an environment where resources are limited. So you really want to get the most out of the team at the workplace. And one way to actually do that is to be very clear on how you set KPIs. And KPIs in this case means key performance indicators, how you measure, have a way of monitoring and build a culture of really discussing performance issues. So what are some of the hidden landmines and where the systems fail? So number one, unclear expectations. So you'll have KPIs that are a bit vague. In goal setting, we normally talk about SMART goals. So if you have key performance indicators that are not that cannot be measured in black and white, that are either gray, you don't have measurable outcomes, that's a landmine right there. Also, inconsistent feedback. You find that in many of our institutions, we leave this to be the work of the HR. We do not want to deal with performance conversations. So you only do annual appraisals. We really don't focus in building the capacity of people to deliver. Even through just one-on-one coaching, it doesn't have to be you taking someone out for training. There's also the third landmine, which is a weak manager capability. Really, no one trains you to be a leader. And in most cases, I've been in organizations where you find people grew along the ranks, they became team leaders, they became supervisors, but really, no one had a conversation with them on how to deliver through people. So you're a manager there with zero leadership skills. And you're a manager who will avoid difficult conversations. The other day, I was talking to one of our clients, and one of the services that we offer is HR outsourcing. And I asked them, have you had this conversation with your team? And she was telling me, I don't know how to have those kinds of conversations. So this is what later on becomes a big issue when you're thinking about performance management. The other landmine I want to talk about is policy vis-a-vis practice gap. We have all these beautiful manuals. In most cases, you'll find that we even have a documented performance management process in our human resource management manual, but it's not applied consistently. Or how it's applied, it's an indication there's favoritism. We don't really follow through what is indicated. I always call this the spirit versus the letter. What we practice and what is actually documented is different. And the last one, which is also a major one, is emotional decision making. Someone has been performing so well, then one day they make a mistake and all of a sudden you don't want to see them. So we are all human beings, we get emotional, but at times some of these decisions, that 5 minutes of losing your temper can cost your business or can cost the organization millions of shillings. No structured improvement process. Hiring is difficult. Hiring is expensive. At times, it's easier to focus on improving rather than just saying we need to outrightly replace this person. So when I was talking about the landmines, it's because some of these issues, we don't really see them as a problem until you're uh, you're taken to court, for example, or you start having a very toxic culture, and then the ripple effect is that performance just plummets. So the cost of getting it wrong, number one, legal exposure, and I'm going to use the example of the Kenyan labor laws. If you're taken to court for unfair termination, in most cases, you'll have to pay someone an equivalent of 1 year salary, amongst other benefits. There's also the financial cost of rehiring. You onboarded someone onto the organization, you have taken them through the induction, and then now they have to go and you have to start afresh. At times, we don't see this as a cost, but people managers will tell you that at times getting the right resource is not an easy task. You need to look at the cost of interviews, you need to look at the cost of advertisement, you even need to look at the cost of the downtime caused by not having that position filled in. There's also a culture damage. You see, how you deal with performance issues can also speak to the kind of culture that you have in the organization. There's lots of high performers. There are people who will just feel like my effort is not appreciated, and what I do in this organization, we don't have a structured way of actually measuring my output. So maybe this is not the right place for me. Then lastly, reputational risk. So in summary, one bad dismissal can actually destabilize the entire organization. And I'm going to illustrate some of these costs through examples of the recent cases that I have seen. We need to, when you're thinking about the performance management, let us look at it both ways. Let us not just focus on the legal exposure. Let us also focus on how can this help us get value? How can we be able to do better as an institution? How can a strong performance management system help us to build a culture of high performance? And I want to give you 3 examples. So the first one is a staff on probation. So a new staff is hired, they're put on a 6 months probation. And then during the 6 months, we don't have any performance conversations. And we even forget that their probation is coming to an end at a certain date. So the probation period lapses, and then we decide, no, this guy, we're not going to confirm him. And then he's fired for non-performance. That person sued the company for unfair termination. And the reason why he had grounds for suing the company was, number one, there was no feedback. Number two, the company thought that because we have not issued this guy with a confirmation letter, they're still on probation. Little did they know that even one day after the expiry of your probation period, your contract can actually convert to permanent. So, and the person, the company actually had to settle out of court. The other example was, again, staff was on a 6 months probation. And these are some of the cases. If you go to the Kenya employment law, you can actually read a lot about some of these cases. So the employer had not actually established key performance indicators or structured performance evaluation frameworks. Then they come and they tell you you're not performing and you need to get out. Remember, this person is on probation. So at times we think, the person is on probation, we can just give them the 2 weeks notice and they go. Actually, the person got awarded because the allegation of poor performance lacked an objective basis. The court highlighted a few points. There was clear, the court emphasized that poor performance termination requires clear communication of shortcomings, placement on a performance improvement plan, adequate time and support to improve. And at times I see people, you put someone on PIP on date 1, by date 14, you're already giving them a termination letter. That can actually be looked at as constructive dismissal. It's like you set them on a plan to fail. So there's also, they need to be heard. So there's a requirement in the Kenyan labor laws that a formal hearing must be there. What am I saying? The law can actually see through some of those shortcuts. And whether someone is on a probation or they're already on a permanent or a fixed term contract, the principles around performance management still apply. So this is my last case, and this was quite interesting when I was reading about it because we get people into organizations and then you give them one title and then along the way you keep on adding things and you forget to document. So a customer and trade marketing manager was dismissed, and this was because they had altered a client contract and exceeding the budgets. So when they were dismissed, they actually went to court and said they were dismissed for a role that was not theirs. And they were awarded because the employer could not actually prove that they had revised their roles to also include altering the client contract. So he said, why am I being terminated for something that was not my job? And this is a common mistake again, whereby people come in, roles change, we give verbal roles and descriptions and responsibilities, and we forget that the burden of proof lies with the employer. I know in the examples I've used the cases of the Kenyan labor laws, but from my experience, I've realized that in the region, our laws are nearly the same. In fact, some are even more lenient on the staff than the Kenyan labor laws. I think in Rwanda, it's not very easy to terminate on performance. It's such a long and tedious process. So these are just some of the examples I've given just to show you how simple gaps in the process can actually land you in trouble. OPP, how am I doing on time?
We are still good. We are still good. You can still maybe do with another 10 minutes if need be.
Okay, so 10 minutes is good for me. So I took the angle of compliance, but that should not be our only reason why we would want to strengthen our systems. Let us look at it from the productivity side. So really, when you think about compliance, what does the law look for? Number one, was the staff clear about their deliverables? And clarity means they have signed on. They have a performance scorecard or they have a KPI that they have confirmed, I have read and understood. Were they supported to deliver? And how you demonstrate support is through coaching, through training, through you don't just give someone KPIs and expect that they're going to work a miracle. Were they given feedback on their performance? You can start off with verbal feedback, but at some point, it's also good to just say, just a simple email. Following the meeting today, we agreed on 1, 2, 3. All these things, actually, later on, they can confirm that there was feedback. And then were they trained or given any kind of support to enable them improve? When you put someone on a PIP, you must demonstrate that you actually supported them to improve. You don't put them on a PIP and go and wait for results. And then, can all the above be proved or documented? Documentation is key. And I think documentation is also important in case there's someone else who needs to come in to review a performance issue, then they're able to make reference and they're able to go through the history of that person. So performance should be looked at as a system, and it takes time to build. It's not an event. It's not a one-off. A functional performance management system is anchored on role clarity, measurable targets, structured check-ins, documented feedback, and fair and consistent process. Once you set out a system, you have to make sure that it is applied fairly and consistently. So how do you do a simple check if you really have performance management as a system? Number one, are all the roles tied to measurable outcomes? I want us to do some self-reflection, looking at our organizations, looking at our businesses. Ask yourself, are all roles tied to measurable outcomes? Do managers or team leaders conduct structured monthly check-ins? Is feedback documented? Is there a formal performance improvement process? Are policies consistently applied? If above 4 are missing, then you don't have a performance problem. You have a system problem. You need to just sit back and ask yourself, what can I do differently to fix or improve how we approach performance? This should tell you that I'm coming to the end. Before you remove people, redesign the system. Ask yourself, is this system working for me? Because strong systems produce strong performance. So at Falcon, we help you to diffuse the landmines. And we have a 4-step approach. We diagnose, we design, we develop, and we embed. Part of our diagnosis is working with you on role clarity and KPI alignment, looking at your policy, and also just checking your manager capability and your supervisor capability. In designing, we work on developing scorecards and making sure we have clarity around escalation and documentation protocols. Developing is now to sustain. So the first 2 steps is to build a foundation. Developing is how you sustain. And you do this by manager coaching on difficult conversations, having accountability and supervision skills training, and just coming up and helping you set up an objective decision-making framework. And then lastly is to embed. Setting up is easy, but sustaining and embedding that culture requires consistency. It requires continuous performance conversation and tracking. It requires internal policy alignment. It requires leadership accountability checkpoints. So if you'd wish to have a further conversation on how to strengthen your system, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We also offer strategic business planning, human resource management services, that is from recruitment, from how staff comes in to how they exit, fundraising, and business process engineering. So OPP, that is all from me for today. So I welcome questions comments. Yes.
Great. Yes, no, I think the first comment came from Georgina. Georgina is from Tanzania, and she said that Tanzania is the same. Tanzania protects employees, and employers are very much aware of their rights. And then there is a question from Deborah: who gives feedback to employees? Who gives feedback? Is it the HR or the manager? Generally, whose role is it? And there is also something you mentioned called constructive. That is, you've set yourself for constructive dismissal. That is from me. So, what is constructive dismissal? And is there something like destructive dismissal? Yeah. Now that we have constructive dismissal.
Okay.
Mm.
So I can answer those two.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
So I'll
As
start with the first one on who gives feedback. Anyone, any team leader is the first HR manager of their team because they're the ones who will supervise what they do. They're the ones who have even the technical capacity to understand what this person does. However, I have seen it over and over again, people deferring performance conversation to the HR. The HR is a facilitator of the process. The HR is only there to make sure that the policies are followed, the systems, the process that has been laid down is followed, and also they provide an advisory role. But the first person that needs to actually give feedback is the person who will appraise that person. So how they're the ones who actually understand, they're the ones who even delegate. So when you bring in the HR, they have to start from understanding what conversation went on with this person. So I hope I've answered you there, Deborah. Now, there's no term as destructive dismissal or PP, but constructive dismissal is largely used when you try to sanitize a separation process. Whereby you know that the court is going to ask, was this person put on a PIP? So very quickly, you design a PIP at the point of separating. You set goals at the point of separating, not at the point when you started engaging with this person. So the courts are able to look through such a process. So basically, constructive dismissal is the same as sanitizing a separation process. But there's no word as destructive dismissal.
so it means you did it wrong, but then now you want to sanitize. You know the word sanitize
Yes,
bring.
you already know you did it wrong. You know your process has gaps, but you still want this person to go as soon as yesterday.
And then
So you
the
rush through.
courts will accept, right?
No,
Okay. Okay, so you are caught in the scheme.
you're going to be caught. So
Oh,
you'd rather, and that's why my emphasis was on it's not an event. You have to start and build on it. You start by setting clear KPIs. And then when you're reviewing and giving feedback, you're giving feedback on the KPIs that were set. But
okay.
at times we want to do all these things within a very short time. Yes.
Afterthought. Okay, good. Well, Dr. Melvin there is mentioned this session is proudly sponsored by Falcon Insights Global Consulting, who have generously facilitated us as our speaker today, Jackie Awuor, to share nuggets and also on performance. Then there is a comment and a question from Dr. Eda. Thanks very much for a good presentation. Where can we get the templates for the documentation rather than trying to reinvent the wheel? If somebody wants a template, for example, it seems like this performance improvement also has to be some document. We sat on this day, we did this, and then it's reported. Are there templates on the same?
Templates are there. However, each organization will have their own different needs. So I could give a general guideline on what you need to have. It can be as simple as just a table saying, what are your key activities? How will they be measured? And what is your target? So, this can take different forms depending on the nature of the organization. So it's not a one size fits all. You'll find different templates, you'll find different performance management frameworks. For example, I believe you've heard the word balance scorecard. So when you hear balance scorecard, the way targets are set using balance scorecard is different from another system, because balance scorecard will look at the business from four perspectives: financial, customers, systems, and people. So it's not a one size fits all. I think it's more of understanding, how can I quantify my goals for this year? And then how can I cascade? How can I communicate my goals or the organizational goals to the rest of the team? So the thing you have to be careful about is how you set the targets, so that the review becomes objective and not subjective.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
A question from Jane Wangari. Can an employer just terminate at will? Most contracts say should give 1 month's notice. Does an employer need to give a reason for terminating employment if they give that 1 month notice, or pay in lieu of that notice?
Yes, you need to give a reason. It says you can give a contract saying an employer will terminate at will, but what I have seen is, going forward, if that person goes to court, then you have a case to answer. They actually have a right to know why were they terminated. So you can't just say, I'm terminating you and I'm not giving you a reason. So at times I've seen contracts say that, but for those who decide to take the employer head on, you'll always find they have a case to answer. Secondly, right now people are not afraid to challenge their employers. In the OPP days, the millennials, they were very, and the ages before the millennials, they would never challenge the employer. But right now, people are woke. People have known about their rights. So even if you terminate, and also just looking at it from a human point of view, when you terminate someone and you don't tell them the why, you're also setting yourself up for a bad culture at the workplace. And in most cases, when you're terminating and you're not telling someone the reason, it's always something around performance.
Not money. Maybe there is no money. Yeah.
The approach to money is now could be that's a redundancy, and that has a different process to it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you're allowed to actually separate when I mean during COVID, there are companies that really downsized because there was no money, there was no business. So that has an entire separate process if you're going to terminate because of business performance, and that is allowed.
Okay. Yeah, no, this is from Rachel. Thank you, Jackie, and the entire Falcon Consulting. Well done. This is JIT. What would the place, what would be the place of a PM handbook or manual? That is performance management, I believe. Performance management handbook or manual. What would be a place for that?
The performance management manual just documents the process and ensures that everyone in the organization implements the performance management process in a standardized way. So it's a reference point for how the organization wants to manage the performance. So it's a policy document, and staff need to be taken through so that they understand the expectation and they understand the roles. They understand the role of the supervisor, the role of the HR, and the role of the supervisee. So basically, it's just it's a policy document that documents the entire process.
Great. Yes, Anne is asking, or Annie is asking, is it legally right to be removed from a company's WhatsApp group without being informed?
No, there's actually I think I shared that ruling. There was a ruling last week where an employee sued, and it said that that's a form of discrimination. So removal, you see, the labor laws are big on do not discriminate. Do not, and if you exclude someone from a company WhatsApp group and they're still an employee, that means you're actually discriminating against them. So there's a ruling I posted in the Power Monday group. There was a newspaper cutting. I can find that link and also share in the group. But it is illegal.
Yeah. So, yes, for those who are not in Power Monday WhatsApp group, I had shared how to join. There is a form you just need to fill in. We also have and there we continue to discuss and share a few other things and even share what we do or market days. There is a market day on Wednesday. I also shared a link to a link to YouTube. Good. Now the next thing, there was another question here from. There was another question. Yes. Yes. Please talk a bit about termination during probation and at the 7 days notice period. I don't know
Okay.
what that is.
Yeah, so the law, of course, says uh, you can terminate during probation, and the period is normally shorter from if the contract has already converted, if the person is already confirmed. But what that does not take away the conversation around performance. So when someone comes in, even during probation, please make sure they have targets. They have measurable targets, because if you get to a point and you're not going to confirm them based on performance, then the same process, the same approach to performance still applies. The only reason, the only differentiator between probation and once a person is confirmed is just the duration. So you have to make sure from the get-go you actually have clarified your expectations, because I remember one of the examples I gave was there were two examples around probation. And in one of the cases, it was actually ruled that the fact that the person is on probation does not take away the process of making sure they are clear about their KPIs, making sure you're having performance reviews, making sure that you're giving them feedback. So hakuna shortcut. From the time the person gets into the organization, you just need to have a way of measuring whether they are performing or not.
Okay, great. And James is asking, to what extent should an employer demonstrate to have supported an employee to perform as the presume, or is it presume, whatever, to have hired competent? It is presumed that he hired a competent staff.
James, the underlying thing is that the burden of proof is on the employer. So if, let's say, an employee is struggling, you can attach them to, you can have an email saying that this person is going to work with you to help you improve on areas 1, 2, 3. You can send them to a 2-day program where they get to learn something in that area that they're struggling with. It can take different forms. The only thing is, how are you documenting? You can document through email, you can document through attendance sheets, you can document through many other avenues. But when it comes to proving, it is what are you going to use to prove?
Good. Yeah. And there is, yeah, somebody asked, somebody called PO, if not PO. Should there have been a performance review, or it can just be done pap? That is, I think, dismissal. But again, down there, Georgina says immediate line supervisor should have regular one, or I believe regular review meetings, one on one. That's intentional, even if it means a weekly 5 minutes touch base. Even if there is nothing to discuss on work, you can discuss anything in general, and there is a lot more there. Because of time, let me move to the next one. Quick question. The process makes sense for a big firm. SMEs do not have the bandwidth for the long process. Please comment. Uh, yeah.
SMEs, you see, we operate in the same environment, right? In fact, if there are people who should take performance management seriously, it is SMEs, because it helps you to get value from your lean team. When you clarify expectations, when you're able to have these conversations around performance, you're able to, an SME cannot afford to have dead weight, for lack of a better word. For a big firm, you can have some joyriders, some people who are not performing, and it is okay. Um, the simple way for an SME to approach it is, number one, just start by asking yourself, even set 5 KPIs for your business. This year, I want to be able to bring in revenue of this much. I need to be able to onboard this number of customers. You can even pick just 5 areas. And then in those 5 areas, you use those to set a one-page document. You set a target. So if, let's say, for example, you're targeting a revenue of 1 million or let me 200,000 a month, then, and you have 2 salespeople, how do you split this 200,000 between the 2 salespeople? So what I have seen actually is that SMEs grow. And if they don't start doing this at an earlier stage, they set the business on the wrong foundation, whereby the business has grown, but it has grown in chaos. So when you have fewer people and you set the right foundation, it will actually help you to get more value from the resources that you have. So it's not just for big organizations. It's for everyone. It's for every entrepreneur.
Okay.
And more so for SMEs. I actually think they need it more than the bigger organizations because they work with very limited resources. Also, what is available to SMEs is HR outsourcing. You can just have someone come once a month or once a week to check and see and help you with this.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe we will answer just this one more question briefly, then you can stay afterwards if people want to ask other questions due to time. When an employee resigns and give reason and gives reason that they have been constructively dismissed, what are the chances that they can be compensated?
They cannot, I mean, where did they get the notion that they've been constructively dismissed, yet they're the ones who've resigned? You see, a resignation comes from the employee.
Mm.
So if an employee says they have resigned, um, how then can they come again and say they've been constructively dismissed? I don't understand. Because it's the resignation that takes precedence. They are the ones who have said, I don't want to be part of this organization. And you have their letter on record.
Okay.
They cannot counter a dismissal letter with a resignation. It's
Good.
more of which one came first. Is it your letter or their letter?
Okay. Maybe, well, we'll discuss that afterwards due to time, but maybe they figured out if I don't submit mine first, then I will lose my dues. Let's call Melvin to pass a vote of thanks. Time is running very fast. Dr. Melvin, welcome and pass a vote of thanks on our behalf. I was told you are the one to do this. and then we move towards the close. Otherwise, that's been insightful. People who have other questions, just stay on board. After this, then they can be answered.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for that wonderful speech. You know, as we say in French, I can only say Awuor, okay? Which means I am amazed at the depth of knowledge that you've brought into this particular field of performance management. And we often think of performance management after an issue has cropped up with an employee. You've actually set a cat among the pigeons, because we as SME owners, many of us are like innocent pigeons, and you've let a cat out over here because we are sitting on a time bomb. Because there's so much that goes into employing a person. It's not just an event, it's a whole process, it's a journey. And you've educated us so well that we can't thank you enough. Additionally, I would like to thank the Falcon Insight Global Group for sending you to us, and additionally for sponsoring this particular event today, this morning. We don't take it for granted. I want to thank the audience for being here today, very early in the morning, and from as far away as Kampala and other places. And I also want to thank the organizers of this Power Monday, in particular Antonia Mutunga, Lady Noel, and OPP, as well as Odhiambo Olale. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for agreeing to have a teachable spirit. And we meet next Monday. Over to you, OPP.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Thank you, thank you. Yes, so we are happy to be here. I'd like to call Antonia. Is there any announcement that you may want to pass across before we close it? Then we go to the part B.